Yeah, I want to get into one little trick that's used in Excel that, I don't know, maybe it's simple, but I think a lot of people just don't know it. And you can get pretty deep into like doing advanced spreadsheets and things like that. You could do access queries, and actually, this is almost like a simple database query. I could tell you that you can use that's very simple that anybody could do, and that is actually using the filters. And one thing to use is this function. If you see data filter, auto filter, and what it did is actually selected a range. You can look at the range here by saying advanced filter, not clicking on OK, but you can see it's selected from cell A2 all the way down to 329. It did it automatically. So it picked up all the way down, to D329 automatically. Now sometimes you would have to highlight the whole range, so it picked down to the bottom of the data. Normally, though, a lot of times let me just take this off of here so I'm going to see what this is for, because actually, I can get into like you can have courses on Excel too much, but I found that these queries are so simple and so quick and so handy to use that I use them. I used to use them quite often. I still use them, and they're just fast. But something else with this type of information, you got to remember, most of the time when you're looking at information, it's like you're looking for a certain answer, and the whole certain answer is about the end goal, which is money. So sometimes like people get so involved in this that they become like eggheads, and are losing sight of the fact that the whole goal is to make money. The whole goal is to make money. But I got to say that this one function, and I can get into a gazillion functions on this thing with complex formulas and putting together. I've done so many different advanced spreadsheets for so many people, and it's like there's so much garbage you can do on this stuff that you can go on with weeks on end. But this function is something I think most common people don't know about that can be very handy and helpful. So I'm putting it out here. So actually what you would do is go to filter, and you can see it's clicked on auto filter. But normally what you would do is you would highlight the range that you want selected, that you want filtered. So that's enough. Then you would go to data, filter, auto filter, and you can see the filters are on. Now it does not matter, like in each one of these columns you have a drop down box. Now if this data is out of order, this just happens to be in order, numeric order, right? When you get this drop down box, they'll be in order, so you can actually find something very easily and select something. But you can also go into here and say custom, and you could say equals a certain thing, and you could do different functions. These are actually like database queries. You're making simple database queries, and you're just doing it in a spreadsheet. Now the disadvantage of a spreadsheet is you got 65,356 lines in it. It's like you got a limit to how much data you can put in there. But a lot of times you don't need to, you might be looking for something quick. So these filters are fantastic. So you could say, like, if you're looking for a range, is less than or less than equal to, and select, you're looking for say 295, and it's greater than or equal to let's say 293, and it'll pull them up. So there's absolutely nothing in 294. So that was between 293 and 295. Now you can also go back and just say all, and it unclears the function, right? Or like a lot of times all I'll use is a button up here. I put this button up here because I use it so much. And the way to get it up there is you would right click on this gray bar here, custom, and the way you would get that button on there, and you would look for commands under data, and you see the show all, and you could slide it up here. I'm not gonna, we're not gonna put it there twice, but that's how you would get it up there. So a lot of times when you're clearing these, like say for instance you did a number of things, you want to say, You know, put down this. There's mood. You know, how many show mood for this code range? There's one. So you have to have, you could see this turn bluish color. That means there's a filter. But sometimes I use this show all button all the time, because if you want to clear all the filters at once, you wouldn't go, you know, there's could be like, you know, 25 or 100 of these damn things. You'd want, you know, going across different columns of data. You would click show all and it clears them all at once. That's why I use that shortcut button all the time. Now, I don't want to go too deep into this, because I have a tendency of, I don't know, like who the hell I'll be talking to. But most of the time I can confuse the crap out of somebody, no matter how slow I'm trying to go on this type of stuff. But this is a very, very simple function that I found to be extremely handy. And in fact, what you're using is like a one table database. Very, very simple. And you're making queries. And it's a simple way you could make like a very quick and dirty database out of a spreadsheet. It's not really a database, but it's like a simple table that you can pull up queries on. And it comes in very handy when you're using these filters. So for instance, you could be looking for anything that can, like say for instance you're looking for anything that contains a certain word. And so you could actually do text queries. So it contains a certain word. You know, anorexia. Well, there's only one. But like say if I picked out another word, well, let's use the word depressive. There's probably in a lot of different things. So you got depressive disorder, single episode, depressive disorder recurrent. Now, I personally, I'm not into this psychology crap. I just happen to use this spreadsheet because this is one I was actually criticizing these yo-yos before quite a bit, because I think it's a real pseudoscience to the max. But say for instance, my point on this is actually to show you how you can actually look up various you know, ways and use a simple one table spreadsheet and do queries into it. And that's by using this function of the auto filter right here. So this function is one of the simplest things around, and I mean I can get into a gazillion different tricks on Excel, but this is one I think most common people don't know about, but it's simple enough to learn and it's extremely handy. Now, I want to get into maybe a couple other things. I don't want to make this extremely long, but you notice I have a number over here, 23. Okay. Now, that is actually pulling up a function. It's called subtotal. Like normally when you put, like if you went to total something up over here and use the total sign, it would subtotal, you know, everything in that area, right? Now, this first code here, I don't want to get too complex with this, but this first code, like if you use a number 9, for instance, that'll subtotal the numbers. Now, it did not subtotal in that case because the numbers that are in there are not numbers, they're actually words, so it comes up with 0, right? I used the number 3, which that number, if you put this code 3 in this formula, what that does is it counts the number of data entries that are in there. It'll count the number of data entries. If you put code 2, it counts the number of numeric data entries. The number of numeric data entries. How many, like in other words, if these were numbers, like if I put a number in here, like number 888 or something, right, 38, or it tells me the number of times the number of times that a number occurred in this field. In other words, not a character, just a number. Okay, so if you go back to like characters or anything, it tells you how many times a character occurred in this field. So that's you know, hopefully probably confusing people with some of this garbage, but it does come in very handy when you're looking for data a lot of times, and this gives a very, very, very fast way to mine for data. Now, similarly, I used and I selected here the number of times. Like in other words, if we went into a formula here and you're looking at this cell D1, say we change the range from, you notice how it highlights. This is it highlights the range where you're going ahead and selecting what data you want to be in your formula. For instance, what I did here is actually, this was a subtotal of these numbers, all these numbers from cell A3 all the way down. So it subtotaled all those numbers up. So in other words, if you're using a query and say you wanted to know the subtotal of all these numbers and you looked up a particular type of category and you said psychotic, right? The subtotal, excuse me, that would tell you how many instances. That would tell you how many instances of psychotic there were. See, 13. There they are. There's 13 different categories of psychotic. It tells you how many. Now, similarly, if you want to add up all these numbers here, you change this to a 9, then it totals up all these numbers. So, the formula is that this flexibility of this simple query, and then if you want to like just clear like everything that's in here, like in other words, if you're looking for like the ones that are highlighted blue, if you want to clear them all, that's why I use this shortcut button, show all. But a lot of people can go on for days with this crap, but I just want to say is that this actual function of using these queries, or you can use these drop down menus, is one of the simplest things going. And when you look at custom, you could do and or type things. You could say equal, does not equal. Another one that's very handy sometimes is does not contain. So if you're looking for does not contain bipolar, there it is. That's what it comes up with. And then similarly, you can say which contains bipolar. All those, right? So it's very, sometimes maybe, if this was a doctor and he was trying to like diagnose somebody, I have no respect for psychologists or psychiatrists. He might be saying, well, I think this person's bipolar. So, he would put down custom contains bipolar and he would say, well, it's one of these codes, and then he'd throw down a code, right? Or similarly, if he was like going to diagnose somebody with some other way to get some dollars, this is a real quack science to tell you the truth, but disassociative, he would say, well, it's one of these codes right here, right? So you can clear it all. You hit enter, you could be down where the disassociative code is, and you can look up various different ways. And a lot of times, this may be a little bit of a poor example, because normally when you're dealing with financial numbers and different things, you would be using the numbers themselves, not actually looking up descriptors. But many times you can use, like if you want to actually put some footnotes on the side of different things, like on a different category. Say you're out here and you wanted to put descriptions in different things, and you can actually like look up and say, I don't remember what that description was, and say there's thousands and thousands of lines, but I remember I put this word in here someplace that I don't know. Well, here we go. I knew a word. It was like put in here, and it contained the word gender or something like that, and you were able to say, okay, oh, here it is. It's 3-302.6. So these queries can be extremely, extremely helpful. Depends on how you use them. And like I said, the way to get them on here is you select a range, and then you go to filter, auto filter, and the way to take off the filters. Let's go to filter, data filter, show all, and it removes all the filters. So in effect, you're using like a real simple one-table database in Excel, and it comes in very handy. So You know, that's a tip that the average person doesn't know. It's very simple. It's very handy, and just you can go on for like years with Excel and databases and different tricks, and it gets as complicated as you want. But just figure to put this one out here because a lot of people don't know about these filters, and it can come in very handy.